Welcome everyone. Buen día a todos. Good morning everyone. Welcome to this first webinar of the UN Datathon 2024. My name is Alexander Loschke. I work in the United Nations Statistics Division. And we are organizing together with many partners the UN Datathon 2024. We have been actually nicely surprised by the number of teams that have signed up. So this is really a great response to our call and to participate in this UN Datathon. We have received the registration of about 135 teams, which is really a great number. About 110 teams from Colombia. So this is also amazing, and we are really happy about this. So we will have a very big datathon this year with in-person participation in Medellín. For you, just to give you a little bit of context about the UN Datathons, so we are organizing this year the 5th hackathon or datathon in conjunction with another event that is also taking place in Medellín, which is the World Data Forum. And as I have said already, the organization of these datathons are always in collaboration and partnership with many other organizations. The purpose and goals of those datathons are always to harness the power of data for sustainable development. And through those datathons, we want to spark innovation, and we want to encourage you to develop innovative solutions to address global challenges. So all of the past datathons had contributed to the mission of the Sustainable Development Goals, and more specifically also to the localization of the Sustainable Development Goals. Through the datathons, we were able to present or to come up with solutions for local problems that can then also be applied in other places, integrating data and technology to come up with those solutions. This year's UN Datathon is taking place from 8 to 11 November 2024 in Medellín, Colombia. The focus this year, and you will hear more about it just in a few minutes, will be on urban sustainability challenges, more specifically related to sustainable tourism solutions in Medellín. We are organizing this year's event in conjunction with the World Data Forum, which takes place right after the UN Datathon. So we will finish on the 11th of November. And on the 12th of November, the World Data Forum will start in Medellín as well. The World Data Forum is a major international gathering which brings together experts from national statistical offices, government in general, civil society, private sector, national and international organizations like the United Nations, but also others, media and academia. And what all unites them is the use and love for data, I would say. Coming back to the datathon, you might be wondering how you can prepare yourself, and you might think, okay, maybe I don't know yet so much about data science and how to combine data. So the purpose of this first webinar and the next webinar next week is to help you in this process. The Datathon is not just about coming up with great solutions for local problems, but also is a learning journey for all the participants. And so today we will have, in the first webinar, we will talk about the theme in a few minutes, and then we will also talk about the data sources that are available to all of you. And in the next webinar next week, so exactly in 1 week, we will talk about the technology tools that are available for you, all of you. And we will talk about the exact deliverables and the submission process. In addition to these 2 webinars, we also have other things in place to support you on this learning journey. So some of you might have already participated in the first office hour of AWS and in the first office hour of Esri. There are more to come. So please check out and be aware of that schedule. We also have a system of online mentors in place, especially during the competition weekend. But we have already set up our communication channel for that. So we are using Discord for this. And you can ask in the Discord channel questions in Spanish and in English. Furthermore, during the actual competition weekend, so from 8 to 11 November, we will have mentors, in-person mentors in Medellín at the competition venue. So you will also be able to ask questions in person to those experts. And we really encourage you to take advantage of that. Before I hand over to our next speaker, I just want to give you a quick overview of today's webinar. So in a few seconds, we will start talking about the theme of the Datathon and also about the data sources. So we will present information about the local, national, and international data sets that are available to you. The information on those data sets will be presented by our partners, the city of Medellín, the Departamento Administrativo Nacional de Estadística de Colombia, so the National Statistical Office of Colombia, and also of our other partner organizations. You will get to know how to access the data, how to download it, and how you can also then use it in your solutions. The webinar today is about 90 minutes long, and we will have a Q&A session towards the end. So if you have any questions, please take some time to put the questions into the meeting chat. That will already give us the opportunity to ask them during the webinar, but towards the end, you will also be able to ask the questions live. And now I would like to hand over to Ronald and Sophia for the presentation on the theme. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Alexander, and good day to everyone. I'm Ronald Jensen. I'm leading the Data Innovation and Capacity team at the United Nations Statistics Division in New York. We're very happy to organize this UN Datathon 2024. Let me start off first to thank our partners who are helping us in making this happen, the UN Datathon. First of all, we have our partners of the city of Medellín, of Ruta N, and specifically also of the Statistical Office of Colombia, of DANE, who are helping us with the Datathon, and they also are the main organizers of the World Data Forum, as Alex explained, which will happen right after the UN Datathon. So I'm happy to introduce the theme, but before going there, I would like to just mention what you as teams are going to do. So the theme, which will be explained by Sophia in a few minutes, the theme is central to the work that you need to do, right? So the solutions that your team is going to provide, the application, the service, the dashboard, or whatever else of a solution that you come up with that might help the city of Medellín specifically on providing better services in the area of the theme, which will be explained, right? Which is around sustainability and tourism. So have really listen carefully to the explanation of the theme, because the judges who will evaluate what you will be submitting will look if your submission is in line or is improving what was explained for the theme of this datathon. What you will be submitting are a presentation, a video recording, and some source code. Explanation of the submissions are also available in our wiki, and the wiki will be opened today. What you can win with this datathon, the awards, there will be an overall award for for the overall winning team, but there will also be awards for a youth team, and there will be awards specifically for all student teams also. So we have 3 awards coming out. There are prizes associated with that. We will give the details of the prize, the actual price of that, on our website soon. What we also will do is we will provide some opportunity for teams to showcase their solution during the World Data Forum, and also that we'll be more explicit about that during the days of the Datathon, how we're going to do this and how this will be showcased. So this is my introduction. Thank you again for all our partners who are here. There are many of them. I explained a few of them, the city of Medellín and DANE, but we also have, as you will see, those who are providing data. They will explain this later in this session. And we have some of our technology providers and partners, and also would like to thank them for helping us make this datathon happen. But now I would like to hand over to Sophia. I hope that Sophia is here.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, Sophia, and please explain and open what will be the theme of this year's datathon. Please, over to you, Sophia.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sofia Botero. I'm here in Medellín. I'm from Ruta N, the place where we will handle the event. I would like to share a short PowerPoint in order to let you know a little bit more of Medellín, Colombia. Most of the teams are from Colombia in general, so maybe you have known about these initiatives, but if you are not from Colombia, we want to welcome you in this event, and we hope it's like a wonderful experience for you all. So today, like, I want to set up us in where is Colombia. Colombia is in South America. Antioquia, it's in the northern part of Colombia, and Antioquia, it's like the region, here it's called Departamento, where Medellín is. Medellín is also part of a metropolitan area called Valle de Aburrá, and In Medellín, we have 2.5 million inhabitants approximately, but we, as a metropolitan area, there are lots of interactions with the continuous municipalities. So we can say that we are 3.8 million inhabitants approximately, with an average temperature which is really recognized as a destination for tourism, because our temperature is like 24 centigrades. So here I want to share with you some of the where the challenges that we face today arises. Medellin in 1921 was like a small town. As you see, here is the river, and it starts to expand and comes into like a great city. As you can see, with lots of complexity in the territory. So this increase in the coming of the people, they are not just people from Medellin, Antioquia, and Colombia. There are people from many places around. So this increases like the complexity of our territory today. With another topic, this increase in the population also comes from Medellin was an industrial city. It was specialized in textile and manufacturing sectors, and with globalization and all these like global exchanges, Medellin lost its competitiveness and entered into a global crisis. With that, Medellin, it's a really interesting case because we can say many things about it, but today it's really recognized through its innovation, spirit, and initiatives and everything. But Medellin, it's not it has no seaport or river port. It has no railways or superhighways. It's not the capital of Colombia. And in the 90s, the year 90s, it was the most violent city in the world. So we can say this is a very complex territory. How come we are today doing the Datathon, the World Data Forum, and many more global events in Medellin? So we start with the base that many of the greatest transformations that Medellin arise are based on urban inclusion. So here I'm going to show you some of the like quick initiatives that we're starting to handle this transformation in order for today today Medellin has a lot of visitors, national, international, and this is due to the fact that we based our transformation on urban inclusion. So we started doing integrated urban projects with in terms of mobility, culture, sports, entertainment, in order to bring facilities, infrastructure to the most vulnerable people. We started to change some of the abandoned areas into places for the people. As you can see, there are kids and children in these spaces. We also start doing a security territorialization strategies in order to motivate people to take over like their territory, to take advantage of all the opportunities the territory has. We also start doing programs for the comprehensive improvement of neighborhoods. Here, it's a very important case that it's Moravia, which was an antique landfill in the city, and they were like 800 families worked and transformed those residues, and now it's a garden where these families are also providing touristical services for visitors. There are local, national, and international visitors. So all these initiatives started to change like the image of Medellin, which was like the most violent city, to a city that gives opportunity to its people. Here we can see Medellin's public library system, which are libraries that gives and serves the community with infrastructure and knowledge interventions. Also, the INDER, which is Medellin's Institute of Recreation and Sports, also working on zonal business development centers in order to give tools for local entrepreneurs, local people to have and dynamize their own economy. And finally, quality schools and colleges. These are just some of the initiatives that started to appear in order to go from the Medellin we told you before into a Medellin that has a global recognition in terms of innovation, sustainability, and many more things. So this has a trajectory that I would like to share with you is based on a collaborative intelligence. Since 2003, Medellin worked together with university, government, and private sector to start changing and start doing the transition from an industrial economy to an economy based on knowledge. So this started to change the Medellin perception into the world. So many things started to appear: Medellin Research Award, Entrepreneurship Park, Explora Park. Then we are here, Ruta N. I would like to share with you. This is the place where we will handle the datathon. So it's perfect. We started in 2010 with the Science, Technology, and Innovation Week. We designed the Science, Technology, Innovation Plan for Medellin, which is today being restructured. And in 2013, Medellin was recognized as the most innovative city from the Citibank and other like international companies and recognitions. So this held like a really important landmark like in the city. Let me come back to it. And started to change Medellin as an innovation hub, which brings lots of new visitors with a new perspective. We also received the Nobel Prize for Cities that it's called the Lee Kuan Yew in 2016, and we now are part of this knowledge network. And in 2017, we were considered a global innovation hub. And we also received in Ruta N the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution of the World Economic Forum. And in 2021, we became a special district of science, technology, and innovation. This is really important for us because this gave us like the recognition of all the effort that was going on in different areas of the city in order to promote social, economic, and environmental development. Still, today, there is a really important topic, which is tourism. Tourism in the city has like a lot of challenges, but a lot of opportunities. We can say like the major challenges are like the urban expansion, the intensive use of natural resources, the informal economies that start to appear, but still we want to promote the sustainable tourism in line of what the World Tourism Organization talks about, which is how to promote economic development, how to promote the environmental protection, the preservation of cultural identity, in order to maintain Medellin as this great city landmark. And also, as you may know, or if you don't know, Medellin is known as the city of the eternal spring, Medellin, ciudad de la eterna primavera. And with this datathon, what we are seeking is to gather new insights into trends, challenges, and opportunities that the city is facing today using data. So it's basically like assessing the environmental, the social, and the economic impacts that could contribute to the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, in order to have data-driven solutions that can support decision makers in designing their right strategies to promote the sustainable tourism and continue being Medellín as like the city it is. So here are like specifically the three main challenges we're looking for, which is measure the real impact of tourism on citizens' quality of life in Medellín and its metropolitan area. This includes the impact of jobs, trends of housing and urban settlements and education. In the environmental aspects, how can the recovery of the river, as you see, we are in a valley and the river, it's a central aspect of our city, and its surrounding areas contribute to sustainable tourism? How can the river's ecological health and Medellín's environmental policies drive tourism growth while maintaining environmental sustainability? And finally, identify the interlinkages on the SDGs for Medellín using the data available and estimate its impact, even in financial terms. So this was all for all. This is the place where we are handling the Datathon, which is Ruta N. And now I give back the word to Alexander. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sophia, for the presentation of the theme, this year's theme. This is really, really important for all participants because this is what the Datathon will be about and which will cover also what solutions, maybe gives you some ideas what solutions you can come up with. I also want to mention that this, so we have already mentioned the documentation wiki of the Datathon. I just want to mention there also that we have also the theme of the Datathon available on the wiki in Spanish. Right? Okay, so now I would like to come to our next section, which is on the local data sources available to the participants. And there we would like to start off with Jordi Guerrero Martinez and Marcela Perez Vergara of the city of Medellín. Over to you.
Hello, welcome to everybody. My name is Jordi Guerrero, and now I'm shared to the screen. Are you watching my screen?
Yes, all good.
Yes.
Okay. Bueno, voy a hablar en castellano. La presentación, esta presentación se va a compartir en el wiki de manera que todos los asistentes puedan participar y descargar la presentación. Nosotros vamos a hablar de GeoMedellín, que es el portal de información geográfico de la Alcaldía de Medellín, donde se reúne realmente toda la información geográfica que dispone la ciudad. Entonces, listo. Aquí un poquito de introducción, porque como tenemos poco tiempo y esta presentación va a estar en el wiki, no nos vamos a entretener mucho con esto, pero más o menos un poquito de dónde sale GeoMedellín, el proceso que ha tenido GeoMedellín, qué es lo que significa, que es el portal geográfico donde se reúne toda la información geográfica de todas las dependencias del distrito de Medellín, ¿cierto? Entonces nosotros somos es el portal donde nosotros aglutinamos toda la información y a día de hoy, ¿qué tenemos? Tenemos 1036 elementos entre aplicaciones, geoservicios, datos abiertos y documentación. Entonces, bueno, aquí pues, realmente los beneficios que tiene el portal para la ciudad y para los ciudadanos pues son muy grandes en cuanto a reducción de tiempo, mejores procesos y que también nos permite agilizar mucho, ¿cierto? Entonces, también para que vean el impacto que tiene GeoMedellín, no únicamente es un impacto local, como podíamos pensar. Este tablero lo que está mostrando es de qué ciudades del mundo se descargan datos desde GeoMedellín. Entonces, fíjense cómo realmente nosotros ya GeoMedellín tiene un impacto pues, en todos los 5 continentes, de manera que abarcamos pues, prácticamente todo el mundo, ¿cierto? Entonces, vamos para enfocar un poquito para los participantes en la Datathon y ver de dónde pueden descargar la información geográfica. Nosotros tenemos el portal que se llama GeoMedellín, entonces aquí nosotros es donde nosotros podemos explorar la información espacial, ¿cierto? Nosotros la vamos a explorar desde la sección de datos abiertos, en la cual ahora vamos a mostrar que pueden hacer búsquedas por temáticas o por formatos y encontrar información adicional a cada uno de estos elementos de manera que el usuario pueda identificar claramente qué significan cada uno de estos elementos. Igualmente, en el mismo portal geográfico, en GeoMedellín, tenemos la sección de mapas abiertos, de mapas Medellín, en el cual no únicamente podemos visualizar, no únicamente podemos descargar esa data, sino que también la podemos visualizar y descargar a la vez, de manera que antes, si queremos también visualizar el impacto de esos datos geográficos en el territorio, también se puede ver. Y para este evento del Datathon, pues la idea es que los equipos vayan descargando los datos desde ya mismo, ¿cierto? Pero si hubiera problemas de conexión con los datos o que los servidores están muy ocupados, hemos puesto a disposición un cloud de la Alcaldía de Medellín en el cual ustedes pueden descargar los 170 y pico conjuntos de datos que tenemos y los pueden descargar todos de golpe o pueden descargarlo por cada uno de los formatos que tenemos, ¿cierto? De manera que aquí, pues, realmente la información geográfica que tiene la Alcaldía de Medellín, pues, está pues, garantizada que todos los participantes puedan consultarlo. Entonces, sin más preámbulo, entramos a GeoMedellín. En la página de GeoMedellín es www.medellin.gov.co/GeoMedellín. Entramos, tenemos la sección de aplicaciones y geoservicios donde los invitamos a que conozcan toda esta información, pero si nos centramos en la sección de datos abiertos, fíjense que aquí tenemos, en la sección izquierda tenemos lo que son formatos y lo que son temáticas. En cuanto a los formatos, aquí tenemos todos los formatos interoperables, porque también se hizo un esfuerzo muy grande por abrir la mayor parte de formatos a toda la ciudadanía en general. Entonces, son todos los formatos que tenemos información, ¿cierto? Actualmente, fíjense que tenemos 1005 conjuntos de datos entre vectoriales y raster, ¿cierto? Entonces como que tenemos también pues mucha información. Entonces, y por temáticas, estas temáticas son también las temáticas que identifica el Ministerio de Tecnología del Gobierno de Colombia, el MINTIC, que son las temáticas de referencia de portales de datos abiertos. Entonces, pues toda la información está clasificada según estas temáticas. También el ordenar por, pues aparte de los típicos de alfabeto ascendente-descendente, tenemos cuáles son las capas más prioritarias, cuáles son las capas más recientes, o sea, que son las últimas que se han descargado, que se han subido la información. También tenemos los conjuntos de datos más descargados, tenemos también, por ejemplo, los conjuntos de datos más vistos, o sea, realmente hemos hecho un esfuerzo por tener toda la información lo más actualizada y con más información posible, ¿cierto? Si, por ejemplo, nosotros vamos aquí y seleccionamos, por ejemplo, tasa de desempleo, nosotros vamos y seleccionamos Conoce Más, en este apartado, cuando se abre el archivo, vemos que aquí tenemos un pequeño metadato que ya nos dice información, ¿cierto? Ya nos dice qué significa el conjunto de datos, nos dice las palabras clave, los créditos, también nos permite identificar cuántas veces se ha descargado este conjunto de datos, las visitas, y entonces aquí, toda esta parte de aquí inferior son las opciones en que uno realmente puede descargar los datos. O sea, aquí pues puedes seleccionar si quieres en File to Database, en GeoPackage, en GeoJSON, pero también lo importante es que si vamos aquí a ir al metadato, entonces toda esta información que tenemos aquí ya va directamente al catálogo geográfico que tenemos, que es un gestor de metadatos, ¿cierto? Que está hecho con GeoNetwork. Entonces ya tenemos toda la información completa del metadato, ¿cierto? Aquí te dice ya toda la información que tenemos, todas las restricciones que tenemos y lo más importante para el conocimiento de la información tenemos que el usuario puede descargar el diccionario de datos. El diccionario de datos, pues al final, que pues ustedes saben, el diccionario de datos al final lo que te permite es, estoy viendo aquí, sí, listo. El diccionario de datos lo que te da información es de cada uno de los elementos que conforma el dato, ¿cierto? Desde dónde está ubicado, si hay reglas, como son datos geográficos, si tenemos reglas topológicas, los números de elementos, qué significa cada elemento. Entonces, fíjense como que tenemos un elemento pues muy desarrollado y también, evidentemente, si son datos públicos o no son datos públicos, ¿cierto? Porque pueden ser que hayan campos que sean públicos y campos que no. Entonces, fíjense que aquí desde GeoMedellín tenemos toda la información pues, para que sea analizada a cabalidad. Entonces, esto pues, realmente es en cuanto a si ustedes quieren conocer la información. Si aparte de conocerla, quieren analizarla y quieren visualizarla, como les mostraba en la presentación, tenemos el visor geográfico Mapas Medellín. El visor geográfico Mapas Medellín, aparte, pues es un visor, pero que también lo que nos permite es integrarlo con GeoMedellín, porque al final todo esto, como les hemos dicho, es un elemento que está conglomerado con todo el tema de instrumentos de gestión de información geográfica. Nosotros aquí, pues evidentemente, estas son las temáticas que tenemos identificadas en datos abiertos, ¿cierto? Y estas subtemáticas. Entonces, cuando nosotros, por ejemplo, vamos aquí a servicios de capas, o sea, vamos a mantener el mismo ejercicio que hemos hecho antes. En estadísticas nacionales, en servicios de capas, por ejemplo, vamos a poner la tasa de desempleo, que es la que estábamos las que estábamos mirando en datos abiertos. Fíjense que cuando está el ojito en azul es que ustedes ya, pues evidentemente, están viendo la capa. Puede ser que el ojito esté en rojo y eso significa que por el nivel de zoom necesitan hacer un zoom más grande, ¿cierto? Pero entonces, en estos 3 puntos es donde tenemos los menús de información, ¿cierto? Entonces aquí, por ejemplo, pueden ver, pueden hacer unas consultas básicas de localización o de ubicación. También ustedes, si quieren, pueden ir a leyenda y conocer lo que significa. Evidentemente, si ustedes tocan sobre el elemento, aparece la ventana emergente. Pero también lo que les quería, la última cosa que les queríamos mostrar es que si van a propiedades, tienen acceso como a los metadatos, ¿cierto? Y también si tienen aquí en la opción de descargar, fíjense también que estas son los mismos formatos de descarga que teníamos en Open Data, ¿cierto? De manera que incluso, pues, para que ustedes sepan, cuando uno descarga de aquí, descarga de GeoMedellín de datos abiertos. Entonces, fíjense como que también, pues, ponemos a disposición de todos ustedes, pues, varias herramientas donde está puesta a disposición, pues, todos los datos de la Alcaldía de Medellín con información espacial. Entonces, como tenemos muy poquito tiempo, pues yo lo dejaría aquí. Si hay preguntas, pues evidentemente en el chat las vamos respondiendo y les repito, o sea, toda la información de la presentación va a estar, se va a quedar en el wiki de manera que ustedes pues puedan descargar la información cuando quieran. Entonces, pues doy la palabra a Alexander y muchas gracias por el tiempo que nos han dejado. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, Jordi. Thanks a lot for this presentation of the GeoMedellín portal. If there are additional questions later on, we will also share the slides. Maybe all the information has been quite fast right now, so you will be able to review the presentation and the recording later on our website. I just want to point out there as well that we will upload the video to YouTube, and YouTube has a translation feature for the language, and you can switch on subtitles there as well in Spanish, English, and other languages. So now I would like to hand over to Diana Orozco and John Alvarez from MeData. Please go ahead.
Hola, muy buenos días. Les voy a hablar en español. Voy a prender la cámara y les voy a compartir la pantalla para mostrarles entonces nuestro portal de datos. Listo. Bueno, entonces, en nuestro portal de datos, MeData, que es la estrategia de datos de la Alcaldía de Medellín, en nuestro portal tenemos publicados todos los datos que las secretarías de la Alcaldía tienen dispuestos de sus diferentes áreas. Actualmente tenemos publicados 602 conjuntos de datos y 24 tableros de datos. El portal está dividido en 3 secciones: datos abiertos, que es donde podemos consultar los conjuntos de datos y descargarlos en archivos CSV. La sección de Medellín en cifras, donde tenemos publicados tableros de datos, donde ya nos muestran análisis más específicos. Y la sección de historias de datos, donde tenemos publicados casos de éxito. Más abajo podemos ver un contador también del total de datos que tenemos publicado, del total de las dependencias que tienen sus datos publicados y el total de tableros. El portal también nos permite hacer una consulta de los datos por una temática específica, que haciendo clic en cualquiera de estos iconos nos trae los datos. También podemos hacer la consulta por medio de esta barra de navegación o entrando directamente a las secciones. Les voy a mostrar la sección de datos abiertos. Acá podemos hacer también la consulta haciendo filtro en temática. Seleccionamos la temática que deseamos consultar, o por palabras claves, o también por autor. O acá podemos hacer también una consulta, ya sea por el nombre completo del conjunto de datos o por una palabra clave que deseamos hacer la búsqueda. Entonces aquí, por ejemplo, por hotelera me trajo 8 resultados, de los cuales podemos consultar cualquier conjunto dándole clic sobre su nombre. Vamos a hacer la prueba con este primero, que es porcentaje de ocupación hotelera Colombia Moda. Acá nos da una pequeña descripción del conjunto y también algunos metadatos del conjunto, como la dependencia, la fecha de modificación, la fecha en que fue publicada, su frecuencia de actualización. Una vez entrando al conjunto, podemos descargar los datos desde este botón descargar, el cual nos trae los datos en un archivo CSV, ya donde podemos hacer pues la transformación de los datos como deseemos, hacer filtros, etc. También podemos hacer la descarga del diccionario de datos, que es donde me muestra todos los metadatos del conjunto y la explicación de los datos. Por este lado, entonces tenemos los conjuntos de datos descargables en CSV. Ahora vamos a hacer una visita a la sección de Medellín en cifras, que es donde están los tableros de datos. Entonces, las consultas se pueden hacer de la misma forma, a través de una palabra clave o acá por temática, o simplemente elegimos alguno de la lista que nos trajo inicialmente la búsqueda. Entonces, damos clic en el nombre del tablero y nos muestra el tablero donde ya podemos ver por gráficas o por mapas un análisis más específico y más detallado. También acá nos da la posibilidad de ir directamente a la página de donde se desarrolló el tablero, que en este caso este tablero es de Tableau. También tenemos tableros desarrollados en Power BI. Entonces aquí, por ejemplo, se direccionó directamente a Tableau Public. Regresamos a la página inicial. Y por último tenemos la sección de historias de datos, Ya esta sección es donde nosotros publicamos casos de éxito, donde los ciudadanos nos reportan, por ejemplo, algún caso de algún análisis o algún proyecto en específico o alguna aplicación que se haya desarrollado utilizando nuestros datos publicados en el portal. Entonces, acá mostramos como esos avances, esos desarrollos que tuvieron un plus, que tuvieron como un desarrollo importante para la ciudad, y les damos acá pues como un protagonismo. Y listo, este es todo nuestro portal. Muchísimas gracias.
Thanks so much for the presentation of the Portal MeDatos. So this will be another resource for everyone to be used during the Datathon. And now we will have another presentation by the Statistical Office of Colombia, DANE. And I would like to hand over to Victor Andrés Arevalo Cabra. Please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this exciting event. I'm going to share my screen with you to show you some of the data sets that we consider are key for this Datathon. So I'm going to start with the first one, is the National Register of Tourism. This data set is available in the website of Open Data from Colombian government. This website is datos.gov.co. And in this part for the National Register of Tourism, you can find the metadata of these data sets, including the variables that you can find in these data sets. And when you can click here in data, you can find the information that we consider it's important for this Datathon. So if you want to download this information, you can click here in export, and you can select the type of format that you want to download this file, or if you want to use the API format to download this information, you can check this button. So this is for one of the main data sets. The other data sets are in our main central inventory of data. We call this the National Archive of Data, the ANDA. This site is microdatos.dane.gov.co, and this is the main inventory of data that DANE has available for all the citizens that want to check and consult some information for the country. And particularly for this case, it's you can check the information in this section in microdata for the economy. And if you want to consult the information for metadata, you can also check in this other section of the site. So for instance, if you want to check the information for some of the data sets that we are put in your consideration for this Datathon, you can check here in services, and then you can find all the different services that DANE has regarding different subjects. And this include, of course, tourism. If you can check here, we have here the survey of internal expenditure in tourism. When you can check here, you can find a general description of this survey, some of the preliminary information, the background, the range of the survey, and different information. This section are explained, and you can find in the left part of the site. For example, if you want to have more information for the sampling or for the data collection process, you can check here. But if you want to get access directly for the data, so you can go here in obtener microdatos, obtain microdata. You can check here. And in this case, for this specific survey, you have information quarterly. So you have this information compressed in a zip format. So when you check here, when you click here and then click in this part, in download, this is the word descargar in Spanish. You can click here and you can download the information. Then you can download this data. The data are in three formats: SAB, Excel format, and CSV format. So if you want information for the data dictionary, in this bottom, you can click there and you can find the description of the different variables of this data. If you want to check some of these data sets that we are share with you in the wiki, you can also check our Geo portal. This is a very comprehensive portal regarding the different data sets that DANE has with geographical information. And you can check here, for example, the national census, some sociodemographic indicators, some experimental statistics that DANE has implemented in the last couple of years. Of course, in ANDA, it's important to mention that in ANDA, you can check also the national census or the Great Integrated Survey of Households. We think those data sets are important because they surveys could give you contextual information for the situation of sustainable tourism in Medellín and surroundings. So in this case, for instance, if you want to check some of the information regarding the subject, you can check here in, for example, the survey of internal expenditure in tourism, or maybe if you are interested to analyze the housing phenomenon, you can check here in monthly survey of housing, or maybe if you are interested to check some other kind of information, maybe some other information regarding agricultural and information, you can check here. So it's a very comprehensive hub of information. So when you click here, for instance, in these two surveys, you find some of these statistical data in this format. And you can check here, for instance, for example, in this subject, hotel occupancy, or maybe if you want to check what was the main reason that these travelers travel, or the residence condition, and so on. So you can have data for, in this case, main reason of traveling, and main is for leisure, some for business, and so on. If you want to download this information, you can click here in tools and then use table, and in table you have the information, and you have two formats to download this information that we put here in this Geo portal, in CSV format or in Excel format. We have some other interesting information that we consider could be very useful for us. The first one is the website for the SDG information. So this is in the DANE portal, and you have all the information of the situation of the SDGs, and particularly for the different indicators for the SDG. If you are interested in some of them, you can click here in the indicators, and you can check the information for this information. If you want to download the information for all the SDGs, you can check our SDG Hub. All this information is in the wiki, of course, and you can download the information here for the SDGs. So this is regarding the microdata information that we have. We have other information aggregated. Maybe that information could be useful for us. So I think it would be interesting that you check some of them. And so you can check this information in the main site of DANE. In this case, is our website, dane.gov.co, and then you can check in information for subject, in this case for economy. You can check all the information that we have here, but in this case it's only aggregate information. So in these cases we go to services, and in services we have some of the different services that DANE has or have had in some periods of time regarding tourism. For example, the hotel environmental survey, or the monthly sample of hotels, and so on. You can check that information. For example, if you check in tourism, you can check some of the different surveys and information that DANE has available in terms of aggregated data. I think that's all for my part. All this information are available in the wiki, and we hope to put some of this data in that wiki in order that you can check for the best result in the Datathon. So back to you, Alexander. Thank you.
Thanks so much, gracias, Victor, for this presentation. Without any further delay, I will now move on to the next session, where we talk about other available data sources. And we would like to go first with Veronica from dataprovider.com.
Okay, everyone can hear me? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, buenos dias. I'm Veronica Vilges. I'm working for dataprovider.com. And let me share a slide. Yeah. So basically what we do at Data Provider is that we index the web on a monthly basis. So every month we crawl the entire web and take information from every website we find. And so this is information that is on the website, but also what is in the back of the website. So for example, what technologies are running there, what third parties are involved. And then we take all this information and structure the information. Currently, we have over 800 million domains in our database. This includes 50 million company websites, and this is globally. And we structure the data into more than 200 data fields. So taking anything, just for example, if there's an address on the website, this will be categorized into street, city, zip code, telephone number, email address. Then we take e-commerce indicators. Is it, well, first of all, is it, for example, an e-commerce website? Does it have a shopping cart system? What kind of shopping cart system? What content management system is used? What social media links are there? So taking all this information and putting it into one big database, and I'll show you on our platform, it looks like this. So the baseline of the data is always what we call the host name. This is URL, if you like, or it's not, it's like a domain, but sometimes a domain has more than one host name. So that's always the basis for the data. And then we have the structure. So in this case, we are obviously looking at websites from Colombia, and especially from either Medellín or the region, Antioquia. And yeah, and then we have a couple of other things that might be really interesting for the Datathon itself. So we have things like category, website, the description on the website, keywords, technology use. So you will definitely find information about tourism, but you can also look at companies that use innovative solution that mention sustainability. And you can look also at networks, where do they link to, for example. And so there's a lot you can do with this data, a lot of exploration here as well needed. And the data will be available on the wiki. So for the Datathon, we identified around 8,000 websites that we can locate to the region, including geo coordinates, so you can link it with other data sources. And yeah, all the information is on the wiki. The data will be available in JSON format on the wiki, and I will be in Medellín to also answer any questions. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Veronica, also for this very quick presentation of the data available from dataprovider.com. We will now move on to IDEAtlas, GeoMedellín, and Ryan will be our speaker there. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Just sharing the screen 1 second. Can you all see the screen? Fine?
Yes, looks good. Thank you.
Thanks. So I present for you here the IDEAtlas project and what we have produced and the data we have. So this is our team. I'm Ryan Mareto, and this project is coordinated by Professor Monica Kuffer and Professor Claudio Percello. And Dennis, Dana, and Ronald are our advisory board in the project. Those here are the development team. So basically, our project focuses on producing Earth observation indicators and data for informing the indicator 1111 that is related to the proportion of urban population living in the private areas. So basically, we have developed our project in a user and data-centric AI approach, where we have produced the maps and all the products based on AI and continuously interacting with our local users and our local stakeholders for improving our data and improving the way we develop our products to better inform their needs. So we are mapping now 8 cities spread around the globe. One of them is Medellín. And we are producing, the aim of the project is to produce 3 products mainly. One is the multi-temporal maps from the Islam extent, where we are mapping the location of the deprived areas. Just distinguishing between deprived and non-deprived. The second one is the Islam severity, those are the deprivation index that define how much the area is deprived. And based on those 2 data, we are producing some city scale data based on the proportion of population living in deprived areas. So some of the challenges, many of the data we receive from some cities, they are not so precise because they are based on administrative units. In the case of Medellín, it's one of the best data we have. So this makes our work a little bit easier. In other cities like Jakarta, the data is based on administrative units. So for example, in this case, we have a small slum here, but the whole area is defined as slum in our reference. Because of that, we developed, I will show later, a user data portal where we can interact easier with our users for improving this data. Some of our preliminary results, Medellín is also among our best results with around 80% of overall accuracy in the mapping of the deprived areas, considering a pixel-wise comparison with a 10-meter spatial resolution. So here, the user data portal that we will provide for those interested in using this data in the Datathon, we will provide access to that. So in this user data portal, you will find the extent of the deprived areas, and we will provide also this data in the wiki as a shapefile or GeoJSON. And based on that, you will be able to use this data for the tasks. Okay. And also later in another session when we show the technologies, I can show you a little bit more on how to use the portal and go more into details on that. And then I will here also propose one idea. Our slum severity we are developing based on the domains of deprivation defined by the IDEAmaps network, where they define all these domains of deprivation for defining the levels of deprivation of the areas. And here we have collected across all the cities, all these types of data and classified them into which one is related to each domain of deprivation. This we can provide for you as well. And also you can combine these with the data available for the city of Medellín in the GeoData portal and all the other sources that were shown there. And some of this one suggestion of challenge that we propose for you here is to use this data for defining also some indexes for the level of deprivation, because we believe this is highly related to the tourism, to the economical development of the different areas of the city. And this data can help on the public policies on promoting more equality and more economical development of each of those areas. Okay, so this was just a short introduction. Thank you very much for everyone. Thank you, Alexander, for the opportunity.
Thanks, Ryan. And
just
yes?
one thing, I will also be available in Medellín if you have any questions and anything. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, we're very happy that we have a lot of collaborators also on site in Medellín to help with all the data sources and the technology tools. So I will just directly move over now to Sean Lovell, who will be speaking about the AWS Open Data Registry. Please go ahead, Sean.
Hey, everyone. I just wanted to I'm assuming many of you are familiar with the AWS Open Data Registry, but if you are not, I hope you're in for a surprise. This is a very interesting resource. So I'm just going to share my screen here. So if you navigate to registry.opendata.aws, you're met with this page, and it's a catalog of about 585 data sets on a range of topics. But these data sets are typically incredibly useful for scientific purposes, for data science and whatnot. I wanted to sort of first give you an overview of what AWS Open Data Registry is. It's public access, so the data here are essentially accessible free of charge, depending on the access modalities. So because you will have access to AWS environments during the Datathon, essentially the data sets that you're seeing here are accessible from S3. So S3 is Amazon's object storage service. And using Amazon's object storage service, you can interact with the data sets here using notebooks or servers that you might spin up and this sort of thing. So it makes the process of ingesting and analyzing this data quite easy. And so I just wanted to give a very brief overview of some of the data sets just to create a sense of interest or excitement. So I wanted to start with one. This is the Common Crawl, right? And the Common Crawl is a data set that has 50 billion web pages. And so we're thinking for the Datathon, this is something that could be very useful if you're trying to track sentiment analysis for tourism using keywords related to Medellín. So you could, for instance, start to think of how sentiment has changed over the years. You could have sort of a systematic way of looking at that. There's a lot you could do. You could look at how these tourism narratives have changed over time, but that's not my job to come up with these ideas. The point is, if you wanted to get familiar with this, typically they come with tutorials. So you can look at, see here, you have usage examples and you have tutorials, and it says analyzing petabytes of websites. And you could go on here and you could, view this, and you would see immediately commands that you can run to get started. And what probably is worth, in your case, doing is familiarizing yourself with the topics and the data sets, and think about some unusual use cases for these data sets, because it may not be obvious. Another thing I wanted to show, there's various data sets that relate to Earth observation, and the Venus L2A cloud optimized geotiffs is one data set that contains, I believe it's 4 meter satellite imagery, 4 to 5 spatial images of 4 to 5 meters here. So this is very high resolution. We also have other data sets relating to that are also cloud optimized geospatial data. I'll pull this up. We have Sentinel-2, you have the Sentinel-2 data here. You also have the cloud optimized geotiffs, which are good for access over HTTP if you're not using it directly from S3. So you have a lot of stuff here. You also have, I wanted to show you have the SAT-PM 2.5 data set, which contains global cover for pollution. For 2.5 millimeter fine particulate matter, and you can use this. So there's a lot of information here, and these data sets are often complementary. They add context to the sort of data that you've seen from other places. So this is something that should be part of your exploration process, if you will, if you're trying to figure out how to get started. And I do want to point out the usage examples are going to solve 80% of your problems about how do you do this, right? Because you have people documenting in a reproducible way the research they've done, the code they use to execute it, and oftentimes the research papers are published here. So there's a lot of, it's a great way of drilling down from the level of the data set to the sort of content it contains, and then going down into how people have used this in innovative ways. And you can find a lot of inspiration for this. So I don't want to take up too much time. That is AWS Open Data Registry. Anything AWS colleagues want to say briefly on this? I'm not sure if we have time for that.
Yeah, but I think, Sean, it has been quite clear. So maybe we can move into the next presentation, and maybe in the Q&A we can still bring somebody online from, or
that sounds great. No worries.
Our colleagues from AWS say a few things. Let me move on directly now to our last presenter on the data sources, last but not least, of course. That's Kate Hess from Esri, who will talk about the Living Atlas. Please go ahead.
Great, thanks, Alex. So I'm introducing here the ArcGIS Living Atlas, and I've just put a link in the chat So this is all viewable without having a login, so you can start exploring it now. This is a repository of over 10,000 different geospatial data sets. So you're able to search by specific topic or focus area. You can also filter. So there's the 10,000 results. If you filter by world, so things that have global coverage, it gets a little bit more focused. We can see there's imagery here. So there's Sentinel-2 data, world imagery, air quality data. You can also change the region to Colombia and see specific data sets for Colombia. So for example, we have stream data, supermarket locations, land surface data. There's OpenStreetMap, points of interest, OpenStreetMap highways. So all of these are geospatial data sets that you can use in analysis. So as an example, I'll click on the supermarkets data set, and you can see there's detailed descriptions of the data. You can view it in tabular form to get a preview of what's in each data set. And then if you click Open in Map Viewer, it's going to bring that data into a map where you can start to explore it spatially. So I'll go over more what you can do in this platform in the next webinar, but just note that there are analysis tools here. So you can start to run analysis from within the web viewer on the data sets that you're bringing in from the Living Atlas. And one other piece that I wanted to highlight is that you can also upload data to ArcGIS Online. So from other sources like we've talked about today, and this is detailed in the wiki, but you can drag and drop files, either shape files, CSV files. You can link to feature layers from other sources. So if you want to work with spatial data in ArcGIS, you're not limited to just the Living Atlas. You can also bring your own data sets to the platform. And finally, we have a group where we've curated a subset of these data sets. So I'll also put a link here because this is also open to the public to view. And mostly these are data sets from the Living Atlas. We've also started uploading some other data sets. But you can see we have some census data from DANE, data sets on population, administrative boundaries. So lots of data here to help get you started with the brainstorming coming through the ArcGIS Living Atlas of the World, and more information in the wiki. I'll pass it back to Alex.
Thank you. Sorry, I was struggling here with my unmute button. Thanks so much, Kate, for this presentation, also for the Esri Living Atlas. So we still have about 10 minutes here in our webinar. Maybe we can go a little bit over time for your questions. I just wanted to mention a few things before we start with the Q&A session, actually. First of all, the recording of this webinar and also of the next webinar and also of all office hours that our partners are offering will be shared on our UN Datathon 2024 website. Clarence can share again the link to that. We will be communicating with all teams about the acceptance status very, very soon. We are just still following up with a couple of teams because there might be incomplete information. And also we wanted to confirm with many teams who are not from Medellín about their in-person participation. But in general, I would like to say that we are accepting almost all teams to participate, so don't worry too much about the acceptance status there. We will also share additional information and updates via emails, so please look out for those. I also want to underline again the importance of exploring our documentation on the wiki. The wiki is really probably the most important source of information and support that you will get in this learning journey. Most of the information there is in English, but we also have some information there in Spanish, especially about the theme of the Datathon. And yeah, so please explore that and also use the other support tools, like, for instance, our Discord channel. So now let me go to the questions. So maybe my colleagues Clarence and John can help me a little bit with the Q&A. So which question should we take first? Maybe there was one question about the awards and prizes. So we will have 3 main awards. So the best team overall, the best youth team. Youth is defined by us as all team members being below the age of 32. And also for the best student team. And we will share information about the specific prizes in our next webinar. So anyone else wants to come in and answer maybe some of the questions in the chat that you have seen? Sean, Victor, Sophia, anything?
One of the
Yes.
questions, I'm not sure if we wanted to discuss, can we use other data sources such as data sets from Kaggle and just try to provide guidance on, you know, how to scope out quality and that sort of thing? Do we have any official guidance on that?
So in principle, any information that is openly available, you could use during the competition. Of course, yeah, it's a good idea to check out the quality of the data and if it fits your purpose, right? But in principle, any open data set is allowed in the competition. So not only the data sets that we presented just now, but any other data set that you might find. What is not allowed is data sets which are only accessible to certain people, right? Which are not openly accessible. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, but if you find great data sets on Kaggle, I mean, I would encourage you to use them, but you know, I would say be aware that you have to publicly, you know, defend in a sense your choice of data. If you use junky data for your Datathon submission, it might, you know, have an impact. So there's always something to be aware of when you're scoping out these data sets.
Yes. Any other questions that you guys want to answer?
Is there a Q&A section? I'm just scrolling through the questions in the chat just to see if there's anything, right?
No, we don't have a separate Q&A session.
Alex, there was a question from Joanne.
Yes.
Costco. Solutions should be focused on sustainable tourism in Medellín only. Can we generalize the objective and use data from other cities or countries?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So in principle, we ask you to focus on the city of Medellín as an example for developing solutions for sustainable tourism and high quality urban living and well-being. If your solution is also applicable for other cities, then this is a plus, right? However, we would like to ask you maybe to focus on the city of Medellín and also explore maybe when you submit your solution, whether this approach would be also possible to apply to other cities around the world. And you can also make comparison between Medellín and other cities, right? That would be my take on this question.
Yeah, maybe I could offer a situation and maybe we could provide guidance. So if you have a great analysis that's written up about a tourism related issue and you have Medellín featured as the use case, and then let's say you move to a comparative layer where you're saying Medellín compared to similar cities of economic development status, you know, you could imagine that some sort of thing would be complementary, but you know, in general, I think we want to keep it focused on Medellín. And if there's an extrapolation, then that's perhaps in the closing remarks or something like that. But really, that's right, Alex?
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. There was one question about the interaction of the virtual participants with the mentors. So our main tool for the interaction between participants who are not on site with the mentors will be the Discord channel. That serves actually two purposes. First of all, because you are not in person, otherwise it would be difficult to interact with the mentors, but they will be active on the Discord channel. And also, we whatever you ask on the Discord channel and the answer to it will be public to everyone, which then helps, of course, to ask similar questions for many other people. Okay. So this is this. Any additional questions?
Yeah. Do we get a couple in the chat here? And then we have what products should the team produce?
So I think Ronald has mentioned it at the beginning. So what we are looking for is in possibly interactive tool or a dashboard or an analysis using different data sets to come up with innovative insights and solutions for sustainable tourism in the city of Medellín and other cities. If you want, you can also go have a look at solutions that have been submitted, for instance, last year during our UN Datathon. So, there's also a recording of the award ceremony where we presented in very few minutes also the top 3 solutions of last year, and that might give you some idea how this could look like. Otherwise, maybe Sean, you want to add on to that a little bit?
So you mean in particular
what the teams should submit and how those products would look like they are submitting.
So I think we had so we have some. So Clarence shared the submission guide in the chat, and then I'm not logged in. And then we had sort of Kate shared. If you're looking about the story maps, last year's winner, and I think that sort of gives. And I'll just quickly share my screen here on that. This should give a feel for what you can produce. And they start with a problem, and they state what they're exploring, state the policy question, right? And here it's policymakers, and then you have access to information on the local performance of the SDG goals. So a similar kind of concept, localization, right? When localized data is available, can it be used? And then they go through, right? And so there's an element of, people are being walked, they're walking through the analysis. They're sort of exposed to imagery and areas of text and this sort of thing. So I would say, and then it does get into, for this solution, they did use Esri products, and they put together, ArcGIS, I believe, visualization that backs up their analysis, and they go into this. And so I think this is an example of one of the components, and I don't know if I have to log in to access this thing. Maybe copy it and put a new one, but that's one of the elements that we're going to be asking for. Let me log into okay here. So this is when we ask for this presentation or story map. That's the sort of thing that we're looking for, right? It doesn't have to be, we do have story maps, but that doesn't have to be a story map if you have another way, right? But it has to be something that sort of that walks people through your analysis in a coherent way. And then I believe we're requiring a video link where you would give the presentation, and something that would be a way of summarizing the outcomes of your effort and your research. And then critically, what we have this requirement to provide access to a GitHub repository. And the idea is we want to encourage reproducible research. We want this to be something that can be used as an example, scaled up elsewhere, or if other statistical offices from other localities see this, that perhaps they could take inspiration from it, or copy it, or tweak it, and that sort of thing. So we do ask that you release it with an open source license, and I believe we're pretty flexible on that, but just as long as something like MIT or Apache, and then any other links. Does that make sense? Is that helpful, Alex?
Yeah, I think so. It's I think there was also a question whether so the idea is to come well, was it the idea is to make a solution or to present a possible solution? Well, kind of both, right? So you want to basically come up with a problem analysis. You identify a problem, then you try to find a solution for the problem, like we are seeing here in this example. And then you explain what your solution is and why it is valuable, right? Why it helps with the sustainable development goals, which includes things like urban quality of life, reducing poverty, and so on. Of course, all in the wider context of sustainable tourism within the city.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And you can see, I mean, I would really look through, I mean, how do I say, this is one example of a great solution. I don't think people need to copy this, or no. It's more about just as an example, if this helps fill in the gaps, if you're stuck about how you could do it. But really, creativity is an enormous part of this, and as is curiosity. So, right now, during the few weeks we have before the Datathon, I think it's best to go into the imagination stage and try to explore the data that's out there, ask questions, and try to think about where you could go with this, because I think going into the Datathon with a strong sense of what the opportunities are and where information lies, and how do you have the skills to jump into it fast. I think that's going to help tremendously, and having experience presenting it in this way would also help.
Yeah. Thanks. There was also a question about if teams must be every day at DANE and how does this work. So yeah, we will share more information about the actual, let's say, agenda or timetable of the competition weekend. We will start off on Friday in the afternoon at 2 o'clock local time, with an opening event, where we will, of course, have some statements by people supporting, by us and by other organizations supporting the Datathon, including DANE and DANE and so on. And there we will also have another, I would say, like short training session where we will explain again how to access the data and how to access the technology tools. And then we will also basically present to you the in-person mentors. So you will get to know those and to get to know the people who you will be able to work with during the next few days. We expect every team to have at least 2 team members at the DANE location in Medellín. Additional team members, so teams are 3 to 5 people. Additional team members can be either on site or remote, right? But in principle, the idea is to have at least 2 team members at DANE. The idea behind that is that you will have better quality interaction, I would say, with mentors, with other team members, and with other teams that are also competing in the competition. So you can also reach out to maybe your neighbor at the table and say, hey, can you help me with that? Do you have an idea how to do that? And so we want to propagate a little bit this idea of interacting with the people on site. Besides, we will have on Friday evening a social event where we also all gather in Medellín at a local brewery, so you will be able to interact also in a more relaxed environment with everyone and get to know each other. And then from Saturday morning through the afternoon on Monday, you will be working on your solutions at the DANE building. And yeah, maybe I stop here.
Alex, there was a question from Diego. Will there be live transmissions or streaming of the on-site sessions during the event?
Yeah, so we will have, of the opening event, we will have a live stream. Also of the closing event. The closing event will be relatively short on Monday afternoon. The opening event, as I have mentioned, is a mix of welcoming remarks and training session. This will be shared also online for those who cannot be on site in Medellín. Okay.
One thing I just wanted to mention, I did drop in the chat, all submissions must reproduce the MIT license in the text of their submissions. When that's in the submission guide, and it's a very standard formulation, but I put it in the chat in case there's any curiosity.
Yeah, and this basically links to the requirement, I would say, or the idea of reproducibility and by others who want to copy then maybe the solution and apply it to other cities, or who want to use the solution for the city of Medellín so it can be implemented in real life and in production. Okay, so we're now 10 minutes over time. If you see, colleagues, if you still see any urgent question that we need to answer right now, we can still do that. Otherwise, I would say we conclude here and tell people if they have further questions to reach out using the Discord channel. I think that would be the best way of doing it. And then we can answer your questions there. All right. So any last urgent question?
Alex, I just wanted to come in and say tomorrow is AWS's office hours. You should have received a calendar invite for that. And next week on the 30th is our technology platforms webinar, followed by the third AWS office hours on the 31st of October, and then the second Esri office hours on the 5th of November, and the fourth AWS office hours on the 6th of November. So we hope to see you there. You should receive calendar invites for all of those.
Thank you, Clarence, for clarifying that. All right, so let's wrap up. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Please, very important, join us also next week on the 30th of October at the same time for our second training webinar for the UN Datathon 2024. And if you have questions, please reach out, but please also read first maybe the documentation wiki, and probably most of your questions will be answered there. Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Yeah.